Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gita, chapter 2, text 13. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. Translation: as the embodied soul passes continuously in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from the old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering, according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies, for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause for lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the Supreme cleavable or changeable, against the principle of the Supreme Souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gita, the fragmental portions of the Supreme exist eternally, sanatana, and are called kshara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to the living entities and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna, and the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusory energy Maya, then there is no need of one being the instructor and the other the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity, Arjuna, who is a forgetful soul, deluded by Maya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. So one question, what is knowledge? Knowledge means to know something. If I know something, that is knowledge, that which is known. So if we know a lot about this material body, is it knowledge? It is knowledge, okay, some knowledge is there, okay. And if we know a lot about this material world, so much knowledge about the material manifestation, this material world, is it knowledge? Yes, both are some form of knowledge. Knowledge of body and knowledge of this material world is also knowledge, okay. But how deep is this knowledge? Srimad Bhagavatam says, Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu. Actual knowledge is knowing reality from illusion, body from soul, matter from spirit. Vedyam, to know. Vastava, Vastava means actual substance. Atra Vastu, which is the actual substance. So, the verse we are looking at today is revealing knowledge. It's revealing something beyond this material body. We have volumes and volumes of knowledge based on this material body. So much knowledge. This material world, so much knowledge. But what is beyond? Beyond this material body, there's something else this verse is telling us. Beyond this material world, there is a force that's also understood from Vedic knowledge. So this verse we are looking at is revealing that knowledge, that there is another entity present which is beyond this body. This body is called Deh. So there is an entity present beyond the body which controls the body, which is present in the body. Dehino means inside the body, inside the Deh. Dehino, embodied by the Deh. So when we see the body, we think that this body is alive, this body is me. But Bhagavad-gita is revealing deeper knowledge that actually what we are seeing, this body, is not the actual substance. There is something else in the body which is alive and which is acting through this body. This is knowledge. Knowledge of that soul. This is knowledge. But Bhagavad-gita says that that substance which is within the body, Dehino, is different from the body. Dehino asmin yatha dehe. So two words are here, Dehino and Dehe. So the body as well as the entity moving the body, animating the body, inside the body. The body is not the actual principle. The body is not the actual substance. It is an instrument. It is a machine. In Bhagavad Gita there is a verse, Ishwar sarva bhutanam hrideshe, that one. Brahmyam sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. All living entities are moving on a machine. This Brahmyam sarva bhutani yantra rudhani. This machine is made of material energy. So the soul is roaming around Brahmyam sarvabhutani yantra arudhani maya, on machines made of matter. This is a machine. Why so much knowledge on the machine? Why so much emphasis on this machine? So much study of the machine. It's okay, but we want to know beyond the machine, because this machine is moving due to something else. So that is knowledge. The active principle is Dehino, the one inside there. It is known as the soul. In the translation, Prabhupada translated as soul. Dehino asmin yatha dehe. Prabhupada said as the embodied soul. The soul inside the body changes the body. So as we said, the body is simply a vehicle. This has to be understood. And we may understand, but we will not realize it so easily. We may understand it, we may hear it and accept it, that this body is a vehicle, yet we are so much concentrated and focused on this body's looks, this body's comfort, everything about the body. Yet real knowledge is beyond this body. Real knowledge is to know the body as well as the force behind it that's animating the body. This body one day will die, and what will happen? It will become either ash or dust or stool. If it's burnt, it will become ash. If it's buried in the ground, it will become dust. And if it's eaten by vultures or animals, it will become stool. That is the only three things that can happen to this body. So we are not concerned with something temporary. We want to know something about it because we are in a material world. But the point is that real knowledge is beyond the body, knowledge beyond the body. This is actual knowledge. So matter, the body, and material nature cannot work on their own. This material nature, material world, we see matter everywhere. It cannot work on its own. This material body cannot work on its own. This body has growth, digestion, heat regulation, sweating. How is that working? How can matter just move itself? It cannot. That is the body. What about the material world? This material world has rain, sun, air, ether, and flowing rivers, blowing wind. We said that air, wind is blowing. So these are all material things. How are they moving? On their own? No. Nothing of matter can move on its own. That's the point. Matter cannot move on its own. This material body cannot move on its own. So to know what is beyond matter, that is knowledge. Of course, Jada Vidya, material knowledge is also knowledge, but actual knowledge is to understand, as it says in the purport, that perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, super soul, and nature, both material and spiritual. Such a person is known as Dhira. Knowledge of matter, spirit, soul, super soul. Super soul also. So that is knowledge. So material nature cannot exhibit itself. It has to be that there is something behind. So we said that behind this material body is a soul, as this verse is saying very clearly, that there is a soul manipulating the body. Okay. And behind nature is the super soul. There is a great soul. He's great. The verse is asya mahatasya ishvasitam etadyat mahatasya, that the great soul, the great one who produced this living and material nature, that is Mahavishnu. Through his glance, he set everything in motion. The material nature, and material nature is conducted by him. This is given even in Brahma Samhita, where it says that material nature is personified is Durga. So the creation, maintenance, and the destruction of the material world is under Durga. She is the material nature. She is creating it, winding it up into herself, like the mother who produces the ingredients for a child's body. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharati Durga. So Durga is in charge of this material world. Ichanurupam Yasya Chacheshtate Sa. She is conducting herself according to the desire. Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. She is conducting herself according to the desire of Govinda, Krishna. Ichanurupam Apiyasya Chacheshtate Sa. Cheshta. Her activities are according to the desire of Krishna. Krishna is of course aloof, completely aloof, but he expands into Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is managing this material world. He expands into Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters into each universe, produces Brahma. Brahma creates secondary creation with the ingredients produced. And then, as everything is created, Vishnu expands into every atom and every living entity. So the nature is conducted by Vishnu. Vishnu in his form as the super soul is pervading the whole creation and making it work. Just like in my body there's a soul, that's why it's working. In this material creation, there's a great soul. There's a Vibhu, great soul, who is conducting the body of the material energy. I can produce some sweat, salty substance from my body, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He produces the oceans of water, air. I produce some extent, some chemicals, but great amount of chemicals is produced by the universal soul in this material body. So there is the Supreme Spirit, Supreme Controller, Ishwar, behind this material nature. And who doesn't know Him does not have knowledge. This is not knowledge. Knowledge means we have to know about the real energy behind matter. Matter does not work independently. So, who is controlling this material nature? Do we know about Him? Who's controlling the body? And this is the subject of this verse today. The verse is speaking about another entity inside. It's termed as the soul. Every living entity is an individual soul. Each is changing his body every moment. So this one verse of Bhagavad-gita has deeper knowledge than so much scientific books and papers today being produced in modern science. One verse cuts right through the matter and is revealing inside workings of everything. The inside working of matter is that there's a soul. We are not this body. We are the soul within this body, which is acting through the body. That makes people think that this body is animated because of the soul. Soul is conscious, and so it animates this body with consciousness. As it says in Bhagavad-gita, that just like the sun seated in one part of the universe is illuminating and giving heat and light all over the universe. So similarly, the soul seated in one part of this body is illuminating the whole body with consciousness and making everything work. Otherwise, it will not work. As we can see at death. So, how many people know this knowledge in the West today in modern science? How many people know? They don't know. So this is ignorance, gross ignorance. People are claiming to be scientists, philosophers, intellectuals and teachers, and they don't know how this body is moving. They don't know how this material nature is functioning. This is gross ignorance. Everyone is giving each other Nobel Prizes and accolades, glorifying, but no one knows anything. All darkness. This is not knowledge. This is not education. Knowledge has to be based on spirit and matter. Okay, there is no knowledge about the embodied soul. This body is a vehicle, simply a vehicle. If we see a vehicle driving, we want it to move. We will not tell the vehicle to move. We will go to the driver, because we have that much sense that this car is moving because of the driver. So go and tell the driver. Okay, that's a level of knowledge they have. There are some people who still don't understand what's a vehicle. So when they come across a vehicle, they are shocked. I'm talking about people from maybe the jungles or out of the city, tribals. They'll be very shocked. Maybe not so many people now. Everyone knows what a car is. But there are people like that. And so they'll be shocked. Just like in North America, there were still the Native American Indians, traditional people there. And when they saw the train, they used to run away, thinking that it's a big snake has come, puffing fire and something. No knowledge. So people see the cars, they'll think this car is some moving junk of metal. How does the metal move itself? They can't understand. So similarly, people not having knowledge are seeing this lump of flesh moving, thinking this lump of flesh is moving. And that is the person. No knowledge, ignorance. This is not knowledge. So they cannot be teachers, they cannot be scientists, they cannot be philosophers. Or maybe on a very lower level. So just like one rides a vehicle, we are riding this body. And when the soul leaves this body, whatever you do to it, no one will protest. When the soul is here, if you do something, there will be protest. You can go to jail. Why are you injuring someone's body, burning someone's body, or stabbing someone's body? We'll go to jail. But a dead body, nothing. Because everyone understands dead body is useless. It's a lump of flesh. Even they don't know about the soul, but that much sense they have. The body on its own is useless. As Prabhupada says that, that's a different analogy. So now we have a vehicle. Now if someone has a vehicle and the vehicle gets damaged, what do? We fix the vehicle, repair it. So we have the body. What happens? Body is damaged. So we undergo treatment, cure the body. It's a vehicle. But supposing I have a vehicle and the vehicle is damaged beyond repair. I can't fix it. So I need a vehicle. So I'll get a new vehicle. I'll get a new car. Similarly, we have this material body. This material body at some stage gets very worn out. It's totally worn out or damaged beyond repair. So what do? This verse is saying that tatha dehantara praptir, that when we are not able to use this body anymore, we get another body. Wow, what a shock. How can you get another body? How can you take birth again? What the proof? People get bewildered. They are not dhira. This verse says, dhiras tatra namuhyati. One who is sober with knowledge is not shocked. When we die, soul leaves the body. Then what happens? Okay, let's analyze what happens when the soul is in the body. Here it says that since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body at every moment. Every moment, the body is changing, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. But the same spirit soul is there, it does not undergo change. That person does not change, body is changing. As Srila Prabhupada said once, like sometimes I come across the stairs and I want to run up like I used to when I was 10 years old. I want to, but I can't. Because I have a different body, it won't be able. So in that way, he is showing how he is the same person, but the body changed. The body is different. So now, within this one body, dehinosminyata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara. The soul changes body from boyhood to youth to old age. He has a young body, then he has a youthful body, then an old body. Body changed. They are not the same bodies. Bodies are constantly changing, but the soul is the same, not changing. So now we say at death he takes another body. Why are we surprised? He already took so many bodies in this life. In this life he took so many bodies. Kaumaram yovanam jara. As the soul passes from boyhood to youth to old age, so at death soul enters another body. So one who has knowledge, dhira, is not bewildered. Dhira is defined here. Prabhupada says, any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called dhira, or most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by change of bodies. So people who get bewildered, they, due to ignorance, not having this knowledge of soul, super soul, and nature. Otherwise, proper knowledge of this will not bewilder us. Here in the paragraph, it's mentioned something about Mayavad. You see, Mayavad, they say that we are all particles of the great soul, spirit, and again, when Maya is removed, illusion will again come back into that great soul, spirit, as one. But here, Prabhupada is making the point that that's not possible. Soul cannot be cut. If soul can be cut, then it's changeable. Soul is not changeable, matter is changeable. But soul does not change, it is fixed, immutable, unchangeable. So that is against the principle that the Supreme Lord is not growing or getting old or changing. He's eternally his own form. So that is not proper understanding, that we are all souls and we are particle of the Supreme. No, the Supreme is different from the soul, a super soul. So we are talking about the soul in the body. Body has a soul, but body also has a super soul. The super soul is a presence of God inside every living entity, the localized, as mentioned in Shastra, localized expansion of Krishna. That means God is with everyone, every single living entity. This is such a great feeling when we study the Shastra to understand that even why is a sannyasi supposed to be fearless? Why does he go alone and travel all over the world? Because he realizes he's not alone. He's going with the super soul everywhere. If we have that realization, there is no fear, there is no loneliness, there is no disturbance. Once someone asked Prabhupada about this depression, loneliness feeling that people get. So Prabhupada said, this is due to, well, it's a karmic reaction when someone feels lonely or alone. These are lower modes. But actually, no one is alone. Super soul is in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sanavishto, Krishna says. Isha sarvabhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati. And there's another verse in the 10th chapter, which is opening verse of Krishna's vibhutis, where he says that aham atma gudakesha, that I am the soul in all the living entities. Krishna says in 3 places in Gita that he is present in all the souls, in everyone's heart. Okay, so we are not alone. Inside the body, we are present, and the super soul is present. We are not the super soul. When we say that we are particles of spirit, it's not that we are the spirit of the great spirit, and we have to again merge into that. No, the great spirit never broke. It will never break. We are separated parts of Krishna, eternally fragmental. We are always separate and serving, but we are oneness in spirit. In the quality, we are one, same quality. So how to understand that the super soul is the same? Super soul is the same in everyone's hearts. We as the soul occupy the body. Next to us is the super soul. So the super soul is the same everywhere. And the analogy given here is that how is it possible? We have billions of living entities, millions or koti, I don't know, we cannot say what number. How many living entities are there? All of them have souls, super souls. So how to understand that it's the same one super soul? An analogy is given here is just like reflection. If you have a glass and the glass falls and breaks, all of the particles will be reflecting the sun. But the sun will be reflected in all the different shards of glass. But it's the same sun. So in the same way, all the Paramatma forms are the same. And Krishna says in Gita, Kshetragya chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. He says, Arjun, you should know that each individual soul knows his body, but I am the knower of all the bodies. Krishna is present everywhere. So the super soul is different from the soul. We are not the super soul. We are conditioned living entities. Super soul has followed us, Krishna in his form of Paramatma, and he's following us in all living entities, simply that we turn back to him. Also, he's reminding us in each birth what we wanted to do and not to do. Because our desires are there, we go to the next body, we forget everything. So Krishna then reminds us, this person, you can be rude to him, this one was good to you, or remember you liked swimming, whatever it was. He reminds us. Super soul gives the knowledge, forgetfulness, and knowledge. So in here the purport, it says the individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjun, and the supreme soul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level. In this area of the heart, Hirdeshe Arjuna Tishtati, Krishna says, I am present, and soul is present. If you say they're both the same level, then why is Arjuna speaking to Krishna as asking for information? He understands Krishna has knowledge. He wants to benefit from that knowledge, so he is asking him the knowledge. But if we say that both the souls are the same, then why to take instruction from, why should one take from the other? This is the point made here. That this is wrong wrong knowledge. So Dhira has this knowledge, soul, super soul, and nature. Nature means spirit and matter. Knowing that at the time of death he is not bewildered. Death here referred to as Dehantara Prapti, accepting another body. That is death. Simply transferring from one set of experiences and karma to another set. In this life, we had certain desires, certain karma we had to go through. So that has gone through in this life, and again we develop new desires, we have new karma, so that comes in the next life. So now how to determine the break between one set of desires and karma and another? That is death. Death is when we change from one set of desires to the other. So that is death. It's not something so shocking. Of course, I'm speaking not from fully realization. I'll be shocked. But this is the theory. We are speaking about soul. Then how to know about the soul? People are speaking about soul, accepting the soul. And the way to know about the soul is through the symptom of the soul. The symptom of the soul is consciousness. Symptom of the soul is consciousness. If we want to know about the soul, then we have to see the symptom. If someone says, no, I want to see the soul, it's not possible. With these eyes, we cannot see. We can not see our brain with this eye. We cannot see our mind. We cannot see the air, oxygen. We cannot see anything much. So why are we so demanding to see the soul? Many things are seen by symptoms. So soul is seen by symptom. The symptom of soul is consciousness. How to know if there's a soul present? That entity is conscious. Chair is not conscious, it doesn't have a soul. A tree is conscious, it will grow, it will respond to sunlight. Tree is conscious, chair is not conscious, car is not conscious. Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. So we know the soul is present when consciousness is present. Symptoms. This soul, seated in one part of the body, pervades the whole body, and the influence of the soul is thus felt all over the body. Therefore, we understand that the person is alive when he is conscious. So real knowledge, we are speaking about real knowledge in the beginning. What is knowledge? Knowledge means to know something. And to know means to know about the body. That's not, if you just know the body, that's not actual knowledge. It is a level of knowledge. But real knowledge is knowing soul and body. Soul making the body move. That is knowledge. How many people see that? I'll read this. So how many people can see the soul and prove existence of the soul? No, we can't see it. Yeah, as I said, through symptoms. But how many people have this knowledge that the soul is behind? Hardly anyone. Now it's very significant. This is Bhagavad-gita. We're in chapter 2. Chapter 1 is practically just setting the scene, coming to the point of Krishna's instruction. Krishna's instruction began at text 11. We are on 13. So text 11, Krishna began speaking in terms of giving knowledge. He spoke earlier. So right in the beginning here, Krishna is beginning to speak about soul. Knowledge of soul starts at the beginning of Bhagavad-gita. Very significant. Bhagavad-gita is not a high-level text according to the Vedas. It's part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata was meant for less intelligent people. But look at that level that we cannot understand. But right in the beginning of this text, it's giving knowledge of soul. This is knowledge. When we start talking about soul, Then soul and the spiritual principle, that is knowledge. Where will we get this knowledge? Where is it? Now Bhagavad-gita right in the beginning is mentioning it. This is a high level text. We can spend our whole life studying so many things, no clue about this. Darkness. So, but Bhagavad-gita is just the beginning. We understand that Bhagavad-gita is the beginning of the study of transcendence, spiritual knowledge. It's the beginning part. Actual, deeper, postgraduate study of transcendental knowledge begins in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam also, the opening verse is so high, such a high level that, we had to spend a lot of time reading each sentence, each word, to understand the whole text. Immediately not possible. So, this tells us a level of discourse of Vedas. If people can simply open the Vedas and try to get knowledge, they'll get knowledge. Yet, they are convinced that with this tiny, as Prabhupada says, teeny brain, they're going to get knowledge on their own about what's happening in this world through my research and my PhD work and my super intelligent brain. I'm going to find out. We cannot find it. But rather, common man on the street in Vedic culture had higher knowledge. We have to accept this, what is it? Aroha Pantha. Descending process of knowledge. This will give us knowledge. High level knowledge, we cannot imagine what kind of knowledge. Soul, consciousness. Till now, civilizations going on, they can't figure out what is consciousness. They can't figure out what is life. What are we going to speak? In Bhagavatam it goes deeper, discussing about reincarnation principles. So this knowledge is had from, Arjuna got this knowledge from Krishna. Krishna was representing the position of the Paramatma, super soul, and Arjuna as the bewildered soul. So similarly, as Arjuna accepted that knowledge, we have to come to the point of accepting the knowledge and surrendering as Arjuna did. Now, after surrendering, he is getting this knowledge. If we surrender, knowledge will be revealed to us. Knowledge is here, but we will not enter into it till we surrender. As Prabhupada says, understanding means standing under, being submissive to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. The knowledge that we read will be really revealed in our heart. And that will save us. When that knowledge is revealed, darkness is dispelled. Jnanena tu tab ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavad jnanam prakashyati tatparam. When knowledge lights up our darkness as the sun lights up the darkness, then it destroys all the tesham nashitam atma. It destroys the adityavad jnanam. It destroys the darkness, tama, and reveals everything clearly. But here in this verse it's saying that Dhira is not bewildered at the time of death. So Dhira means he had knowledge. We have to come to that level of Dhira, higher knowledge, through study of Bhagavad-gita and accepting authority of Krishna, not on our own speculation. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai.